Every story has a backstory. There has to be a framework so that listeners or viewers can actually picture where the story is coming from. And that's called a backstory. So we will start off this story series with a backstory, a prologue. And it's my story. So to cut it short, migrant, and in 1987 migrated from the beautiful islands of Fiji, came into Sydney, Australia, and continued with my career in the engineering construction world. I qualified as a civil engineer from Sydney, and when I landed in Sydney, I promptly went off to Canberra and was placed on a project where we're building, at that stage, was going to be the Park Royal Hotel in the middle of Canberra. And as with all construction work, it begins with the start of construction and it finishes when the construction's finished. So you kind of move on from job to job. So I've moved on from many jobs in my construction career. So from Canberra, I moved back up to Sydney, did more multi-story commercial building construction, and then there was a period when I actually went away, then came back, and I started work in the civil construction side, putting bridges up, and eventually worked in tunnelling right under the middle of Sydney. And that's when I took a career transition. So from being a project manager on construction work, I became a roofer. So how did that come about? Well, in 1999, there was a massive hailstorm that hit Sydney. And as a result, there were roofs everywhere with holes in them. And there were tarpaulins on virtually every single roof in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. So my brother, who was in the roofing industry then, he said to me, "Do you want to become a roofer?" Strange question. As with most things in life, you are presented with crossroads. And that for me was a crossroad. Was I going to continue being a manager managing large construction projects, or was I suddenly going to just become a roofer? Now, I don't know what made up my mind, but I chose to switch careers and I became a roofer. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in and what you do, you accumulate lots and lots of lessons along the way. And the difference between a wise person and a person who's perhaps not so wise is how they take those lessons on. They learn from their failures and their successes and use those lessons to help them progress their understanding of how the world works. And lessons become the best stories. So this is what we're going to do in the next few series of videos. We will be telling stories, the lessons learned as I started as a roofer from the labourer level to a level where I was sufficiently skilled to handle my own jobs, and then finally to become a small business owner owning a roofing business. And I must admit that successes have been few and far between. There's been a lot more failures in my journey as a roofer than successes. But combining the successes and the failures has brought me to where I am, and I believe I got a very good understanding of the roof repair business in Sydney. And these are what the stories are going to be about. a little bit about the successes and mostly about the failures, because failures are where we learn the lessons from. And to finish off this prologue, what is the main lesson that I've learned over the last few decades of being a roofer? The main lesson is that roofing is perhaps one of the best kept secrets, and especially roof repairs, purely because of the life that it can provide. Not only because it can reward you financially. You don't become suddenly mega rich, but you do make enough money to be quite comfortable. Not only that, you're not stuck to an office job where it can be dead boring, and you are not stuck on a project that takes years and years to complete. The beauty about the roof repair business is that you virtually get a fresh job every day or every couple of days. So there's always variety, there's always things to learn, and you get to work outdoors. Maybe sometimes the weather's not too good, but it's outdoors work. You're not cooped in an office, you're outside, and you've got to have to think on your feet, you've got to be creative, and once you've applied your creativity, at the end of the day, you can stand back and you can look at what you've done. You go, straight away, you get feedback on the results of your work. So for me, life in the roof repair business has been the best kept secret that I've somehow uncovered when I decided all of a sudden to go down the path of becoming a roofer and giving up on a high-profile job in managing large construction projects. And there are so many stories to be told in the roof repair business, and this is what we'll go through in the next series of videos for you. So I hope you enjoy this next series of videos about my journey in the roof repair business over the last couple of decades. And together we'll have a bit of fun and perhaps we'll learn something from all these stories.